know, Democrats, let me preface this by saying the White House has been working on an immigration push for the fall. It was supposed to go out, start in the middle of October, but they had the whole shutdown, and then or early October, I should say, shutdown, and then the healthcare website issue. And I know they've been doing some events around it, but do you know anyone in the Democratic Party that believes that immigration reform is going to become law before the end of this Congress, before the end of 2014?
I think there's mixed opinion about it. There was a lot of excitement when McCain and the others put together this bipartisan proposal in the Senate. That's dissipated a lot. I think there's a sense, I read the paper yesterday or something, that it's not likely to happen. I hold out hope. I think Boehner, by the way, I have a great deal of respect for him. I think he got a lot of credibility with his caucus, the way he held out as long as he did. I mean, maybe not with the American people, but certainly with his caucus. And the fact that he did, I would hope he would use that as capital to ultimately, when he needs to, get this across the line, because he's smart enough to know it's in the best interest of his party and certainly of the country. But if that doesn't happen, I expect that this will go like everything else. Washington goes, nowhere because it's so broken. By the way, I'm a senior fellow at the Bipartisan Policy Center as well. I tell people it's more broken on the right, in my opinion. Markedly more broken, but it's broken on the left too. The Democrats, and particularly the Democrats up here, can't say no to their friends. Won't look at entitlement reform and pension reform and education reform. There are areas where they've got a lot of work to do as well. But I hold out a little hope.
Within the context of immigration reform, is there a place where you think the Democrats have not said no to their friends, where they might be able to give a little more ground to the Republicans?
I think this bill, look, the amount of money we're spending on border security that we could be spending for college affordability, for Head Start, for a safety net, and for many other things, R&D, it boggles my mind. I think the Democrats gave on this one. There are a lot of people that supported this bipartisan compromise because it was the best vehicle given the political situation. But, I'm not sure there's a lot of room beyond this because this bill is a lot tougher than, I think the actual path is a minimum of 10 years. A 10-year wait, and then, before you become eligible, and then, as you said, you could have a 25-year wait. There was a lot of discussion around whether or not people should get behind it. They ultimately did because it was the best opportunity for a compromise that we've seen since 5 or 6 years ago with the last one.
Steve, it sounds like what you were getting at earlier, talking about low turnout primaries, is that it may be maybe more advisable for Speaker Boehner, for Republicans to do this in the next Congress when you have a 2016 election, not a low turnout election, presidential year, rather than doing it now before the 2014 election. Is that an accurate read of what?
Yeah, look, I think the last congressional approval number is 6%. 5%, there's nowhere to go but up.
So apparently Congress makes up 5% of the election.
Right. So I don't think that the impact. I think it would be good to get the issue taken care of again, because I think it's the right thing to do for the country. It's totally broken, and I think what we have now is a de facto amnesty. But I don't think that passing it this year versus after the midterm is going to have an enormous political impact on elections. I do think that you know, certainly if we have a presidential campaign in 2016, you know, that approaches this issue the way that the last presidential campaign approached it, then we're going to lose another presidential election, for sure. And we'll have a great opportunity in 2016 to, you know, to take back the White House. When you look at this issue, I think that you'll, you know, certainly see, and it may be that it will take a Republican president, you know, who calls for immigration reform to be the one to sign it at the end of the day. I don't know, but I certainly think that we're not going to have candidates. We'll have candidates for president who are against it, certainly. But I think the one, you know, hopefully that is the nominee of the party is going to have a very different position than Mitt Romney did. And if we don't, you know, very difficult to see how we win.
Does the status of where immigration reform is in the process affect who the best candidate is for the Republican Party? That is to say, if it hasn't been done, is there a bet maybe one person is the better candidate? If it's already off the table, does that open things up for somebody else to perhaps be?
Well, I think if the issue's off the table, you know, to a degree, it's off the table, and you will have a you won't have the divide that you will have in the party if it's on the table, you know. But this will be an issue that's a live issue in all the presidential debates, and you know, you know, Republican candidates, you know, and there will be at least a couple who are supportive of it, will be in the town halls in New Hampshire and Iowa, and they'll be getting yelled at by, you know, the activist base. They're going to have to stand up to it. And if they don't, and every utterance out of their mouth is calculated not to offend a talk radio host or to offend one of the outside groups, then we're doomed. We just you know, you can't win. You have to be a smarter guy than I am, you know, definitely, and a lot of them out there. But you know, you look at some of these issues. I mean, the issue wasn't that, you know, Rick Santorum raised contraception up in a debate. It was that Mitt Romney didn't look at him and say, "What are you talking about? We're the pro-life party. We're not the anti-contraception party." And you got to be, like I said, a much smarter guy than I am to figure out how you win in a state like Colorado that's legalizing marijuana, and your candidates are out there talking about contraception. I don't know how you do that. So on a range of issues, when you look at the demographics of the state and the populations of places like Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, all states we used to win. Very difficult, you know, to see what that pathway is, you know, absent candidates who will be out there communicating, you know, in an effective way to this community.